Yeah, man!
Hello, my name is Miguel, and today I'm gonna make for you oxtail brown stew. Alright, so you're gonna need about a pound of oxtail. This says 387 kilograms. An onion and a half, about a teaspoon of rosemary, grinded fine, couple stalks of scallion, 4 to 6 garlic cloves, marjoram, alright, this is whole cloves, about 2 whole cloves. Alright, about a tablespoon and a quarter of sea salt. Cooking oil, less than quarter cup of coconut oil preferably. Half a teaspoon of browning, add it bit by bit. A tablespoon of dried parsley, pimento seed, a quarter teaspoon of pimento berries dried, marjoram, about a teaspoon of marjoram, and this is parsley, a tablespoon of dried parsley. And these herbs you can use them fresh, just cut them, just dice it fine. Alright, nutmeg, just a couple grinds of nutmeg, and it's optional. Scotch bonnet pepper, half scotch bonnet pepper, and about a tablespoon of white vinegar. This is chili. You can use 2 or 3 chili pepper. And thyme, a spring of thyme, and 1 small tomato. And if you have chocho, you can add cut quarter piece, slice and dice. Alright, so now prepare your vegetables by removing the skin. The outer layer of the onion, just remove it. Just the skin. The first layer of the onion is the strongest. So don't waste the onion by taking off that first layer. So springtime, I'm just removing the root and garlic cloves. About 4 or 6 garlic cloves. Just remove the skin or the leaf. If you see any sore or any brown spots, just cut that off too as well. Or trim. Just trim it off. Alright. A piece of ginger. You just need a small piece of ginger, about the size of your the first bend of your finger. Just peel it, clean off all dirt, make sure it's clean. As for the tomato, you just cut the head off. Now, the scallion, just cut the root end off, remove tiny leaves, and cut the tips of the leaves. Alright, so now just rinse your vegetables on the running water, fresh water. Alright, so I'm going to show you how I rinse. Just make sure you use your finger and work the vegetables, especially the scallion, because sometimes the scallion might have little dirts on it. Alright, so now you do it on the running water. Alright, next. Alright, so we're going to add 2 containers, 2 adds. So add 1, add 2. While we pressure cook the oxtail, we're going to add the first set of seasonings. The first set of seasons. Alright, so now the garlic, just put it on a flat surface and crush it to puree. Alright, now the onion. Slice the onion like you see me doing. Alright, so the first set, half of the onion slice you put in container 1 and the second you put in container 2. And the same thing for the tomato. You just cut it in cubes and put it in container 2. As for the ginger, we're going to pressure cook it with container 1. Now the scallion, let's dice it fine. Alright, so you do the same, put half in one container and so forth. Alright, so add 1/4 teaspoon of pimento berries and divide it as well. Alright, so that's marjoram. And remember now, you can use any of these herbs fresh. Just dice it fine. So put half a teaspoon of marjoram in each container. So in all it's 1 teaspoon. Excuse my bags, but you know, I just put the herbs in the bags to keep the herbs together so that they don't mess the place up. Alright, old cloves. Just 2 old cloves. Old clove is very strong. If you bite on a piece of old clove, you'll go, oh, whoa, what's that? Alright, so that was basil, dried basil, a tablespoon of dried basil, and a tablespoon of dried parsley. Just divide the herbs as well. Alright, salt, sea salt I'm using. Make sure you buy real sea salt, because these days everything has sea salt. The container should say ingredients, sea salt, nothing else. Alright, so you just divide sea salt, put half in a container and half in the other container. and 1 1/4 salt is good enough for 1 pound of oxtail. Alright, if you're using a chili pepper, you just cut it in half and just put it in container 2. But I'm not going to use chili pepper because I'm in Jamaica and I have access to Scotch bonnet pepper. Alright, so take half of your Scotch bonnet pepper. If you like spicy food, you can add the whole thing. It won't be spicy, it'll just be, a little spicy. Alright, now white vinegar. Just pour a tablespoon of white vinegar in container 2. And nutmeg, just grind a couple grains. Just grind a few grains in container 1. Alright, so now container 1, add 2. Container add 1, and container add 2. Alright, so now the rosemary. This is my homemade rosemary. So it's not grinded. So use your grinder, or if you have rosemary already grinded fine, you just need about a teaspoon or a little bit less, and divide it as well. Alright, so a pressure cooker. Alright, so now put to heat a pressure cooker. Alright, so put the stove's gauge on 6, medium high for now. Alright, so these are our seasoning. Alright, so I'm just going to cover container add 2 and just put it aside. Alright, so I'm just waiting for the pot to dry a little. Alright, I'm just getting everything ready. Alright, as for the oxtail now, if you want to rinse it with water and white vinegar, by all means you can. But if you know me, I do not wash meat. Look how the meat pretty. What on this wash? You can look on it. If it's dirty, like if you see dirt or anything, or if you see strange things, then you probably can wash it. Alright, so this is oxtail. This is the ox's tail that they cut off and dice to ox. Alright, look, I did a video. See, the first video, the oxtail back then, I guess they weren't selling, so they cut them really fine. So I didn't do a good representation of oxtail. These size now are the ordinary, the standard size for oxtail. So, but if you should happen to get them thin, like the first video, and the first video is with beans, this is not. Alright, so once it's dried, let's add oil. Alright, this part now, a lot of you are against oil. But if you use healthy oil, you don't have to worry. But use half of quarter cup. You just need enough to get the cooking going. You can probably get away with adding about 2 or 3 tablespoons of coconut oil, preferably. Alright, so I'm just going to wait for this to get hot a little bit. Alright, so after a minute or so, you see we're not going to fry anything, so we don't have to wait for it to get hot, hot, hot. You just need it to get hot enough to start cooking. Alright, so you remove the oxtail. Alright, a lot of times when you see all this redness in the oxtail, chances are it's not blood, because I don't believe meat run, but they might. But what I do know is that they put dye on these meats so they can look pretty and really red and nice and beautiful. But if you look carefully, you can see the difference. And if you see too much liquid at the bottom, that's chances are it is. All you have to do is just lean it up to a side and let some of that run off, and then you use the meat. Alright, so now if you add the oxtail, you just add one. If you're organized like me, you don't have to worry about if I didn't add something. Alright, the seasoning, the oxtail now, if you put the oxtail in the hot pot, it's gonna stick. But if you add the seasoning, it will aid loosening the oxtail from the bottom of the pot. That is sticky. Alright, so you see how it's stuck? So it's stuck a little bit before when I started stirring. Alright, but because of the seasoning or the seasons, it loosened it. The water from the seasoning kind of helps and loosen it. Alright, so you just give it a stir, and then allow it to simmer on one side. Just allow it to simmer. It's not a one-side thing. Just allow it to simmer. Alright, so the browning now. Alright, the browning sometimes can be a little bit challenging for some. But I find that if you add it bit by bit, you can't go wrong. Alright, get everything ready. The water, we're using 3 cups of water. Alright, so it's been a minute since we it's been a minute since we start. Alright, since we added the oxtail. Alright, so browning. Some browning are liquidy and some are thick. This is obviously a liquid one. You know, we're in a third world country, so always cutting back so that the products can be affordable. Alright, so I just added a quarter, so now I'm adding quarter more. You see, oxtail is like cow's tripe and something else that I can't remember. Oh, cow's skin. You don't need to add a lot of, when you're cooking those things, you don't add a lot of browning. So that was 3 cups of water. Alright, so in all, we are using 3 cups of water. English people say water too, you know. And Australian people say water. Everywhere else I guess say water. Alright, you see, look at the color of the browning, and this is fine enough for me. You want it to have a light brown color. So add it bit by bit. Browning has a flavor, so if you add too much browning, it will kind of overtake the flavor of the oxtail. Alright, so now you get the pot's lid, the pressure cooker pot's lid. Make sure you put the lid on, rubber on properly. Check everything. Alright, so check everything. Make sure everything is in the right places. Alright, this pressure cooker is it's old. So I'm going to show you a little tip. If you have one like mine, or if you have one that's old like this. Alright, let's get and this is a bag, scandal bag. It's handy. So I just use something. Just get something that ties, something strong, and then tie the handle of the pressure cooker. If your pressure cooker is old like mine and it's giving you a problem to maintain the pressure, so you just do that. Make a good knot at the end, and then you push it up and tighten it. This is not even a part of the tutorial, but hey, might be for some. Alright, so just allow once it starts to hissle, then we're gonna start the timing. Alright. Once your pressure cooker starts hissling, put your timer for 25 minutes and then turn your stove gauge on 4 medium low and allow. Alright, so once the timing is finished, just turn the stove off. If you're in a hurry, you just run that part over water until the air so releases. If not, you just allow it to cool. It won't take long. Probably take about 5 minutes or less. Alright, so it cooled. Remember now, do not open this lid if it's not cool. Alright, so now we're going to test. This is how you want the gravy. A nice brown looking color. Alright, so test your oxtail. See if it's tenderized to the right. Tenderized perfect. See if it's tenderized just right. So use a fork and make sure the fork goes through it. Alright, so make sure the fork goes right through it like this. Because sometimes you can just use a fork to poke it for a little while, and then you realize that the inside of it is not cooked properly, cooked through. So once it's like this, you're on a good track. Alright, so now, put back to heat a saucepan, or you can use the same pot that you pressure cook it in. But I'm just going to transfer it to a different pot. If you didn't want to pressure cook it, you just boil it in enough water until it's tenderized, like how I just showed you. So the 3 cups of water was sufficient. And with oxtail, let's say, you don't want to cook with natural cooking or any cooking. You don't want to use too much water. That's why you gotta be. You see the oil on the top, but it's sufficient. Alright, you just want the right amount of water, because put the stove gauge on 4 medium low and then add 2. Back to what I was saying, the water now, you just want to add just sufficient amount of water when cooking oxtail, cow foot, cow stripe and stuff like that. With beef now, you can get away with using more water. All you have to do is cook it out. But with oxtail and so forth, if you use a lot of water, the flavor of the oxtail will go in the water, and then the oxtail will have less flavor, or the ultimate flavor that it should have. Alright, so you just do all of that, cover it and allow. Alright. After 10 minutes, this is what it looks like. You want to keep the pot covered within the time, sealed properly. So you just use a spoon like this. This is stainless pot, so you don't want to grind the bottom of it with a spoon. In fact, I'm going to use a wooden spoon next time. But just give it a 1 stir. Make sure everything is in their place. Alright, so you just cover it properly and allow. You make sure it's sealed properly. Oxtail. I'm just showing you, but you keep the lid on. Alright, 15 minutes in. Stove gauge is on 4, medium low, all this time. Alright, so this is your oxtail. This is how you want it. is a one garlic that I had. I throw it in. So now I'm just mashing it. Alright, so make a couple stirs and just cover it and allow. Alright. Alright, so it's been 80 minutes with my hand signaling. Alright, so this is what you want. The gravy is thickening. I'm going to show you. Today I'm not going to add no ketchup. I'm not going to add any ketchup. I'm going to show you how to thicken the gravy without ketchup. Alright, now turn the stove up. Turn the stove up on 6 medium high or 8. And remove the time stick, because this time stick can splash, oftentimes splash, can hit you in your hands, in your eyes, on your face, and it messes the stove up. So remove the time sticks. Alright, so that's what you want. Or leave the lid off so that some of the water can evaporate and thicken the gravy. Once the gravy starts sticking to the pot's bottom, that's a sign to say it's almost ready. If you cooked oxtail and the meat is breaking off the bone, that means you over tenderized it. So 25 minutes is sufficient for these standard size oxtail. Alright, so I turn the stove up on 8 and let's make the gravy thicken. High. 6 between 8. Alright, so that's how you want your gravy. Thick and just right. Alright, it's getting thicker. The gravy is building, and the whole stew is starting to stick to the pot's bottom. You can see the bubbles. Look at the gravy. That's how you want it. That's it. That's a finished gravy right here. It's not thinned out, just right. Alright, so that's it. It's sticking so till it's almost about to almost gonna burn now. So once it starts sticking, that's it. The gravy is thick enough. This is it. Without ketchup. Oh yes, and if you wanted to add ketchup, you could have had ketchup the same time when we turn the stove up, about 2 tablespoons or so. And I don't know if I mentioned it, but alternatively, if you didn't want to pressure cook it, you boil it for hours in enough water. Boil oxtail for hours in enough water until it tenderizes. Alright. Okay, I'm gonna this tip is for restaurant owners, caterers and so forth. You can cook the oxtail, use like they're just the 1 onion, and then on serving you just slice some like this. You want to get a little circles, the round onion rings. You want to get onion rings. I guess that's what it's called, whether it's fried or not. It's still onion rings. Alright, so you want to get these onion rings and take them apart like you see me doing. You can also, and this is optional, this whole thing that I'm doing right now is optional. You don't have to. Regular people at home who's cooking your dinner and so forth, You don't have to. Although on Sunday you can do it to impress your significant one or to impress your presentation. Alright, so this is the scallion. So I just washed it, peel it properly, and make sure it's clean. So I just dice it fine. So what I'm gonna do with these vegetables now is use it as decor. Alright, so that's what you want. This is our oxtail brown stew, no beans. If you wanted to add beans, I would just recommend that you buy the canned butter beans or broad beans, remove the water, and at the end, or about a couple minutes to the end, you just add it. Or you add it when you start stewing, when you turn the stove up and you're thickening, because you might don't have to cook it that long. If you add, that's if you're using beans, broad beans. Alright, so now you take the onions and you just put it over. If you're serving it like caterers, you just lay the onion on the top of the oxtail stew. Take some of this homemade JamaicaDinners.com oxtail. Visit my website, subscribe, like, comment on this video. This video should do good because it's done properly. Oxtail. I know many of you are skeptical to use a pressure cooker, but if you use the pressure cooker correct, you don't have to worry about anything. It will really save time and energy, money as well. So this is oxtail brown stew. Alright, I will stress it again that it takes 25 minutes to pressure cook. Alright, so now I'm gonna serve mine. This is for me. This is just some rice that I cooked, and I placed a couple pieces of pumpkin in it and just let the pumpkin cook in the rice. It's not pumpkin rice. It's just some rice that I cooked with pumpkin, so that I don't have to cook the pumpkin in a separate pot. Alright, so now usually it is served with rice and beans, rice and peas, but you can eat it with anything. You can eat it with boiled starchy hard food, some dumpling. You can eat it with rice, regular parboiled rice. Oxtail has a very unique flavor. Most people love oxtail, but it's become a bit... Oxtail always been expensive, so it makes sense because from an entire cow, it's just one tail. So oxtail should be expensive. Alright, so now I'm gonna eat. The browning too was sufficient. I only used half teaspoon, and it's not dark. It's just I don't have enough light in the room, so it's showing dark. If I carry this outside right now, it would show better. But look at the pictures. I do pictures, so I know how to take it correct. So you can look at the pictures and see the meal properly. Alright, it's hot. It's very hot. So I gotta cool it to heat it. Oxtail is just right. And two, I did say it already, but if your oxtail is falling off the bone before you can serve it, it's tenderized too fast. And if you eat oxtail and if you have to it has too much meat on it still and you have to fight to get the meat off, that means it's not cooked properly. It can probably still heat, but it won't give you that real oxtail flavor. that we often like. Alright, so you see, this is just right. I know too, this is a lot of you real Caribbean people or Jamaican people are accustomed to using the powdered seasoning. You notice I didn't use any with this. It's strictly herbs. You shouldn't be intimidated to use the herbs. It's natural cooking. It's better than the artificial flavoring that you guys that we are accustomed to. It's not your fault. It's just that what we grew up seeing other people doing. So it's harder for us to cut off it. Even if it's not good for us, it's going to be difficult for us to cut that bad habit. We eat good in this country, So we shouldn't be sick the way we are. And plus we have the hot sun that beat us down and we walk so much. We shouldn't have a problem with health in this country, but we do. I know the temperament is an issue, but whatever. That one there for work itself out. Alright, so visit JamaicaDinners.com, enjoy, and subscribe. Alright, see ya. This is how you want your oxtail to be, just done right. This is how you want your oxtail to be, done just right. Look at that. Oxtail is delicious. So much that everybody in the world eat and know oxtail. And that's unusual because the one food that a lot of people know of is oxtail. Look at that boy, juicy oxtail. So you want it, you eat it and the meat just come off the bone. It's not falling off, it's not sticking to it. It's just right. I like sucking on the bone. Sometime when we finish eating and we feel so good, we just do this. That you see me do it. Dig out the middle of the bone and just eat that. Alright, so that's the end of that. Alright, that's how your bone should look at the end of it. And if you do it right, you should be able to chew the small bone like a strong person. You'll be able to bite in a small bone. But I wouldn't recommend you do it because it can damage your teeth if you don't know what you're doing. Alright, see ya. Sorry to be eating out of the pot, but I just had to taste a piece more. Yeah, man!